started at the trailhead for Blacktail Creek, Blacktail Creek, and headed off towards Yellowstone.
The night before Abby and I started the hike, we drove past the trailhead and had to stop because a bear had stopped traffic in front of us, not 100 yards from where the trailhead was. So we were obviously extra vigilant for bears along the entire trip.
Once I get over the top of this hill, that'll be the last time we see a road for 3 days. Ready?
Yep.
All right, and we're off again.
The landscape was beautiful, but surprisingly we didn't see any large animals on the entire trip.
How's your foot?
It's a little angry.
Well, let's get something on it. Maybe put a Band-Aid on it.
You have the first aid kit.
I do.
Hey, look at these cool flowers. Oh, they look like birds.
Huge drop. There's got to be a waterfall in there.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely has to be. Because we were right there next to it just a few minutes ago.
Here's a view of the Blacktail Creek drainage that we were hiking along in order to get to the Yellowstone River. About a mile from our campsite, we ran into two couples and their kids that had camped in our campsite the night before. Their youngest child was 4 years old and was obviously handling the trail like a champ.
Lauren. Running?
This is the first of our two crossings of the Yellowstone River.
Hellroaring Creek outlet via Ford via bridge to 12.5 miles.
Hellroaring Creek Trailhead via Ford, 9 miles. Not doing bridge, remember?
Oh, that's right. You wanted that bridge.
Once we got to our campsite, we quickly set up our tents and relaxed for the rest of the afternoon. The sun came up early the next morning, and we got out of our tents, got packed, and on the trail just as quickly as we could to continue our adventure.
for you, Robert. Looks like an elk antler was in our campsite.
As we got on the trail, the air was crisp, but we were eager to get a few miles behind us.
Hey, bear. Hey, bear.
I had been told that a trip into the Yellowstone backcountry would be a life-changing event. Hiking along the Yellowstone River, I could definitely see why that was the case.
Hey, bear. Hey. Hey, bear. Hey, bear. Hey, bear. Looks like Abby just spotted a fairly fresh kill. As in fresh, we mean like a couple weeks old.
There's two. Two skulls.
Huh,
That's not a skull too. That's different.
I don't know. That's a small elk, that'd be a baby.
Oh,
Assuming it's an elk, you know, I could be wrong.
just the eyes look weird. They're different.
Yeah,
Like there's nothing in the skull with that one, but that skull has a face stuff in it.
yeah.
At this point, the trail started to get a little bit more rugged as we started to ascend about 1,500 feet before we were able to reach the peak of the trail at our lunch spot before descending into our campsite for the evening.
That is crazy. Our campsite's somewhere about 20 miles the other side of that mountain.
20 miles?
Hey, boo-boo. You think the ranger's gonna get mad? Wish I could remember what else Bullwinkle said. I'm not even sure if that's one of the things he said.
What's his name again?
Bullwinkle?
Oh,
Yes, I know. It was Yogi Bear, not Bullwinkle.
That was one of the cartoons that was on when I was a kid.
yeah, it's a two bears. Right?
You what?
It's a two bears.
Yeah. Well, Bullwinkle was a moose. I think Boo Boo was a raccoon or a chipmunk or something.
No, there are two bears.
Yeah, there was a bear. There's Yogi Bear.
Yeah, Yogi Bear. That's what it is. Yeah, he was.
Was Boo Boo with Yogi? I wasn't paying attention to it.
We found this geological survey marker along the trail, and without any other evidence as to what it meant, all we could assume was that we were right on the state line between Montana and Wyoming.
Well, you can see that cliff way back there in the distance where we started off this morning. We were on the other side of that cliff. Remember, we were looking upriver at that. Now we're looking way downriver.
Really not far away.
Yep.
There's maybe a two. But the waiting area is like a 6 or 7.
And Robert 2T's, FYI, we haven't seen a bear on the trail yet.
Thank God. Good one too. Pretty big. Don't know what he ate. Five Guys.
Another one for Robert Tooties. Looks like a small 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 by 5 that obviously has been here for a while. Hey there.
I wish I didn't put the trail mix up. That would have been cute. Hold on.
There's Bruiser. Bruiser is a little bison that we found at Berry Falls. Some poor, probably 4-year-old kid is running around now without their little bison stuffed animal. But he kind of became our mascot for this trip and maybe future ones.
He's protecting us from the other bison.
Yeah, because Abby has declared herself as a member of Team Bison.
Team Bison.
Not me. I am Team Elk. I think the trail probably goes around that knoll right there and then down into our campsite.
Which knoll?
The big thing right there.
The big thing?
Yeah.
Up it?
No, around it. Go right to that little pass right there and then down
Okay.
the other side. I'll just wait until that tree's out of the way.
While still several miles from the end of our trip, we finally get the first view of the mountain that has the trailhead where our truck is parked at the end of our trip.
And tomorrow, about halfway up that mountain, is where our trailhead is. That's where we'll finish up tomorrow. We are at Little Cottonwood Creek now. Abby's over here filling up water bottles. This is the first time I've had a chance to fill up water. This was at the campsite about 5 miles ago. In Arkansas, they would only call this a storm drainage, but I guess in Yellowstone, it's actually a named creek. Nice and cool right here, though. It feels good. You can feel the temperature rising. Hey, bear. 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 We've just climbed roughly 1,000 feet in elevation today to get to that view. And we wouldn't appreciate it near as much if we could drive to it, I'll tell you what. Got about 1.5 miles to go to the campsite. Stop in here for lunch, maybe a nap if I can pop Abby into it. I don't know if y'all can see that, but there is a, right there where Abby's pointing. Here, see if you can get that camera a little bit closer.
Can it get wet?
No.
Pressure.
That is a Rocky Mountain crawdad. I didn't even know they had crawdads in the Rocky Mountains.
Right in the middle of the screen.
Well, and right back in those trees is where the tents are set up.
I found a good spot if we're able to stay up till it's dark enough to look at the stars.
Where's that?
It's on top of the rock.
Oh, you want me to climb up there?
No, I don't want to climb up there. Well, we haven't gotten Giardia, which makes me feel good about or the water. Not really sure. The test will be when we try it in the Spokane Manitou Duck Pond.
What? I'm not thinking out of that thing.
Add 1.5 cups boiling water to ingredients or fold / crease and fill package to easy lines. Easy fill lines. Stir thoroughly. Okay. Basically the same as yesterday.
You know what the easy fill line is?
And if we're not hungry, we can just make apple cider. Woohoo! Because we have extra.
So we have about 2 miles to hike out tomorrow morning. And this trip has been a trip that I've wanted to make since I was in probably 3rd grade. I remember at the White Elementary School finding a National Geographic with an article in it about, well, I can remember the name, I don't know, the Whitehead family that did a hike for a month all around the borders of Yellowstone. And ever since then, I've always wanted to go backpacking in Yellowstone. Several years later, I'm finally here. Finally made it. Backpack in Yellowstone. Made it even sweeter that I was able to do this trip with my daughter. And I didn't force her. It was one of the things that she didn't want to do too. Just an awesome time out here. Saw some awesome scenery. When we got to actually the campsite where we're supposed to be is downriver. About another, probably in those in the far clump of trees over there. That's where we're supposed to be camped tonight. That campsite is affectionately named 2H1. We're in 2H3 tonight because when we showed up, there was smoke coming out of here, and we're in an area where wood fires are not allowed. And right down there, real close to the green tent, you can kind of see some black charred area. There was a fire there. It looked like, I don't know, it wasn't intentionally set, but nobody had a campfire there. Somebody may have thrown out a cigarette butt or, you know, a match from their stove for their breakfast this morning or something, but it was blazing fairly decently when we got here. And Abby got here in time, about the same time that 4 other people that are camping upriver tonight got here. They were curious about the smoke too. And the 5 of them put the fire out by the time I got up here. And so, yeah, Abby got to put out a wildfire while we were in Yellowstone. On day 1, we got to our trailhead, the Hellroaring Trailhead, which is where we're going to end up tomorrow. It is through those trees, up about halfway up that mountain, if you can see it. I don't know if that's possible from here. But it's only about 2 miles away, but about a 600, maybe 700 foot elevation gain. So first day we dropped the truck off there, then hitchhiked 8 miles west, 8 miles west to the Blacktail Creek trailhead and started our hike right there. The second person that drove by us picked us up. Nice guy named Heath. Heath, thank you very much. If you ever see this video, it was good meeting you, and thank you very much for the ride. Good conversation too. So, Blacktail Creek trailhead. We hiked down Blacktail Creek to the Yellowstone, which was about 4.5 miles. Crossed the bridge that goes over the Yellowstone there. Glad there's a bridge there because we wouldn't have been able to swim that. Then our campsite was maybe half a mile upstream from that bridge. Camped there, 4.5 miles. Passed some good people on the trail. Family out of, actually, I think it was 2 families out of Bozeman. It was a husband and wife and then another lady as well as 4 kids, ages 4 to 7. And wow, I'm not sure if I would have been brave enough to take a 4-year-old on that trail. But camped first night at 1Y5. It has a sand beach. If you're ever going to be doing Yellowstone backcountry, look for 1Y5. It's a good recommendation. Hellroaring Creek right down there. And that hillside right there, just past those trees, that's where it dumps into the Yellowstone. This little section of Yellowstone right here, my least favorite section. So hot this afternoon trying to cross that, no shade. The trail didn't seem to want to go where we wanted it to go. Hot, just hot. That's all I can say about it, just hot. Wasn't much fun, but you know what? I'm sure in 2 days it won't be near as bad as it was. If you follow the green line on the map, that is the trail that we followed from lunch to our campsite on Hellroaring Creek. After Abby and I got back on the trail following lunch, shade was scarce and the afternoon temperature was heating up quickly. After the first 1.25 miles, Abby found a tall clump of grass, took off her backpack, and we took a break in the only shade we could find between our lunch spot and the campsite. We stayed there for half an hour, trying to cool down and drank plenty of water. We left only when a cloud blocked the sun to provide a little shade. It didn't last long once we got underway again. We spotted smoke of the fire that Abby helped to put out. Here's the wildfire that Abby helped put out. She saw smoke probably 1.5 miles away from here. And we knew this was a no fire permitted area. And so of course she has to put her tent up right next to her wildfire.
Oh, that's exactly why I did it. This is at Hellroaring Creek. This is the sunset on the second night. That's upstream, and then that's downstream, and I thought the sunset was beautiful. I hope it shows up as golden as it is in real. It shows up as golden in the video. We just forded some of the biggest whitewater rapids I've ever seen, and we almost drowned, and it was crazy. And yeah, that's it.
Trying to capture on film what I think is our most common practice on the trail besides walking.
My most common.
Very true. You have been the
water person?
The water person. All right, last day, we're getting started. We just forded Hellroaring Creek on our way to Yellowstone River Suspension Bridge. 1.5 miles to our trailhead. Guess what? We're not in the sun. Look how pretty this is. All right, we just reached Yellowstone, the upper suspension bridge. No more than 8 horses on the bridge at a time.
Woo! Hi there.
Ah, there we go.
Can you get my phone out of my pack?
I can.
I think it's not an unusual.
And no, I wouldn't take my canoe down that knot.
No, it's in the second. It's in the other pocket.
All right, ready to go.
Let's go. Do you feel it moving?
Yeah, a little bit. Imagine with horses. We reached the second crossing of the Yellowstone River on the last day of our trip at this beautiful gorge. We stayed much longer than we should have at the bridge, but it was so beautiful we just had a hard time leaving there knowing that all we had to do was go uphill the entire way to get to the trailhead and the end of our trip. As we left the river, we immediately started to gain altitude and started to catch vistas of the area that we had been hiking through for the couple of days before. I was already starting to feel a little bittersweet about the whole thing because we had had such a great adventure. I didn't really want to stop, but my legs were telling me I was ready to get to the truck so that I could get some rest.
On the home stretch, about 3/10, maybe 4/10 of a mile to go.
According to the signpost, we had traveled 13 miles. The map said we had traveled 14, and our GPS said we had traveled 17 miles. So the mileages are inconsistent. But all I knew was even at the end, and as tired as my legs were, I was already daydreaming about next year's trip and hoping that it would be just as beautiful as this one.
That right there is 100 yards of our trip.